What if your business wasn't just about helping clients find a home? What if it was about helping people build wealth instead? Does this get you excited? That's what happens when you become, what I'm going to talk about today is the investor agent. It's not the easiest path, I'm going to tell you. It's not the most common path either. But if you're willing to step into this, if you're willing to live this out, it might be the stickiest, the highest value model of them all. Because when you win them as an investor, you guys, you just don't seem to earn a client. You earn a true long-term partner. You see it and they see it. A long-term relationship that starts to build that can fuel your business for decades to come. All right, everybody, this is Darren Langille. Again, I'm your host on another solo episode of the Re-Education Experience podcast. We're continuing on the 5 Realtor Avatar series that I started. 5 distinct business models that allow you to build your careers, and the career by design, not by default. So far, again, I wanted to recap if you haven't been on this with me, and you might want to go back, right? So we've talked about the listing dominant agent. This is all about controlling the asset and all the workflow that comes from listing-based business and how you can create more around it. The revenue for life one was the second one we covered, and then this one is all about compounding relationships, right? So this is the sphere of influence agent, and many of you have that, but you dabbled so far, never made it a business. That's the revenue for life. The Avalanche, which was last week, the whole goal here is it's not an asset, it's not a relationship, it's all about how do we kind of spark and hold momentum in our business. It was an exciting one, right? It's full of sparks. Today, though, we're talking about a different breed entirely. And this is the investor agent. This one's a niche. It's not for dabblers. You can't dabble it, and I'll explain why. And it's not for the faint of heart. But maybe if you embrace it, it might bring the clarity, the focus, and maybe more than anything else, the chance to build wealth yourself while you're building trust and exploring a niche you really love. So this is what we're going to talk about today. So today we go niche is what I wanted to share. All right, let's dive into the specifics here because I want to be mindful of your time. Why? So why would you choose the investor agent path? Let me explain who these people are and if this is you. Because investors, in my opinion, they equate to scale. We all want scale. We want leverage in our business. One client can equal 10 deals over years of your business, not to mention all the referrals that can come from a happy investor client that did 10 deals with you. They bring their circle of investors too. And you can see how this compound effect might be a little more uptick, more hockey stick than the linear one that comes from the other types. So here's the kicker. It's sticky. It's also incredibly sticky. So not only can you scale quick and compound long-term, the lifetime value of that client is larger. It's crazy. Once you've earned an investor's trust, right? Once you've earned their trust, they'll keep coming back to you over and over and over again. The lifetime value of that investor client is higher than any other in real estate, hands down. Maybe a caveat where you've got like a super connector in your sphere and they're the biggest megaphone for you. But the investors can do that without having to be that, right? But the flip side of this is that it's hardest to fake. You can take a listing, you can crush it, and you can spark lots of extra business, even off of your very first one, right? An Avalanche, you can take one spark and you can just be Johnny, great follow-up, and all of a sudden, because you're intentional and your freedom of schedule allows, you can create more. And you can fake your way through that, or just be one half step ahead. The investment side, the investor niche, this is the hardest to fake because investors are savvy. They run the numbers, they understand what you're trying to sell them, which is different than your professional accountant who hires you to sell their luxury home. But they're not competent in the selling process. They're looking to you to lead. Investors in real estate are consciously choosing this for the most part, and they're savvy. They've ran their numbers, they've taken courses, they know their markets. And if you don't have the credibility to speak like that, they will sniff you out and go find somebody better, right? That's why the best investor agents usually start as investors themselves. They are in the trenches. They live in the trenches. They walk the walk. They talk the talk. And because of that, they can guide these clients through the experience because it's not just theory. It's not just another marketing piece. It's not a social post. So let me give you an analogy. Think about like a financial advisor at any of the big firms like Morgan Stanley, Fidelity, the major banks, or whoever you do this, do you think the clients, once they get into the web of that investor, they stick around if the advisor doesn't know and can't answer market details and trends and down to the specifics and the numbers inside and out? Because if you challenge them about where their life savings are going, they're going to have an answer. If they don't, you will find another one pretty quick. There is no chance, right? It's the same here. Investor clients expect you to be their portfolio advisor, not just helping them buy their first home. It's a totally different, and that's why the bar is higher here, but the payoff is so much bigger. It's that lifetime value. So let's explore a few things here that I wanted to talk about. The what, right? Let's break down what an investor, agent, what makes them tick. Okay, so principle number one, I always like to give you 1, 2, 3 to 5 principles that I can think about that you can decide if this is for you. So demonstrate your own investing. Even if it's one rental property that you own, you went through the process. Maybe it's one joint venture with a friend. Showing your own work, discussing you have it, works, and it gives you credibility. People don't want the theory, they want the proof. So just think into your world, if you have any, what is the experience that you've gained from this that you can demonstrate and make sure stays front and center so they see you differently than many agents? I'm just going to throw out a number. I'm going to assume 85% of real estate agents don't own a rental property. So if that's the case, just by sharing the fact you do gets you closer to this niche. All right. Principle number 2 is we need to figure out how to build your specific to this niche referral engine, right? Because not all of us walk into a network of a zillionaires that can just buy property all day, every day, especially in the investment niche, right? If you give up the traditional residential clients to focus on investors, right? If you give that up fully, right, you're going to need referral partners, right? So we need to find a way that you can bring value and build a team of non-investor agents who send you their investment leads, who partner with you, right? While they refer them standard retail buyers and sellers, it can be a great trade-off. And this can happen inside of your own market. If good agents understand that they have a great go-to resource, it's basically an extension of themselves in this investment opportunity, you can have local agents sending you business in your own market. How cool is that? And then you can also flip them the same value when it's like time to launch your listing or a condo where you're focused on your stuff, right? Everybody wins in scenarios like this. But this also goes beyond your local market, right? Are there other agents in feeder markets to yours that can also work in where there's investors? In my case, there's investors from all over Canada investing in Calgary. Whether you're hearing this in the US, there's a lot of migration happening and people are choosing investments where it makes more sense. So again, build that team for yourself. Principle number 3 is I wrote down vendor partnerships. Now, these are not just agent partnerships. These are vendor partnerships are non-negotiable for you. So let me explain. These are people like property managers who are the gateway to owners, right? Mortgage brokers who, again, are the ones running the numbers for these complex scenarios, and bankers, right? Builders who might have contacts that have been building for specifics or build rental specific assets to the marketplace. Lawyers, accountants, all the same stuff, but those that can become this like vendor partnership team around this niche. It's different than just the standard of all, right? Your investor clients will rely on you and your extension, your circle of trust as much as your personal advice. And the vendor partnership side is really fun because, again, many realtors are trying to get all these business for all these folks. But when you have this niche, you're going to carve out, you're going to rise to the top, and you're going to stand out in a good way. All right. The next one is principle number 4 is be the hub, right? So if you built this, right, we got to be proud of this, right? The informational hub is like, you might not know everything, but there's interest rate changes, there's government policy, there's housing supply, there's micro data, there's macro data, there's neighborhood rents, there's vacancy rents, there's off-market deals, there's flip margins, there's ROI. Your job is to be the information hub, right? And you might have it yourself in your research engine, you learn it, but you also might be able to tap in to your vendor partners to help bring some of this extra value and insight to them. And that's a really fun place to be because now you're leaning on multiple voices that they can hear from. You're not just an agent trying to get another commission check in a case like this. Principle number 5 is creativity matters. Now, this is not like marketing creativity like a lot of us who are doing residential real estate, and if you're trying to like cut through the noise online. What I mean here is the creativity of how a deal can come together. When you're doing residential real estate, it's usually get a mortgage or buy a cash, get a banker, get it approved, close the deal. Well, in the investment space, there's so many ways to kind of like carve this out. It's assignments, which you may or not know what it means. Vendor takebacks, which you may not know what it means. Rent to owns, wholesaling, joint ventures, private lenders, right? These are all different things where you need to understand, and you never know which one of those you can pull from your toolbox and utilize and share and bring value to. It also might be ways for which you put content out to the marketplace explaining your knowledge on these things and how they might be helpful, right? These are all tools of the trade, right? And it's our job is to master them, and you need to know them. You need to be creatively thinking about them, and you have to put these tools of the trade on the table, right? Which is, again, if you talk to every residential agent, they're not going to know anything about what I just shared. And you might have dabbled so far, but it's something you can go and build a skill set with. All right, the principle number 6, this is the last one. We got to focus on audiences. And what I mean by that is these are lead sources for you, right? We need to focus on the sticky ones, right? We need to target business owners because they're usually quite savvy, right? They've put businesses together, they're entrepreneurs, and they're looking for other ways to like deploy their capital. The other one is high earning professionals, right? These two tend to be the major ones that I see as potential sources of business for you. They're either business owners themselves looking for your expertise as an entrepreneur to help them build a portfolio, or the high earning professionals that have created free cash flow in their life, and they're trying to find ways to deploy. And not only that, is both of these people are major connectors, right? Most of these people are used to creating audiences, and right, and they have other people of this network that can be great sources of your higher net worth, higher capital networks of clients. So again, that would be the 6 principles I wanted to talk to you about. So how do we do this in practicality now? Well, we need to understand what credibility you have, and you need to go through and document this stuff. You need to get this stuff front and center because you might have just kind of gone through the motions, whether it had been 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or recently. But we need to figure out ways to own your own credibility. And to do that, every property that you have, every store you've gone through gives you the story to tell. And I want you to kind of get this back to the surface and make sure if you're on a journey now, we have to document it. If you've done a journey recently, we need to rehash it. If you've brought in other things over time, bring this up higher in your presentation material and how you speak rather than what you did as a retail realtor, which is shiny marketing materials, glossy photos, and videos, right? Step 2 is lead generation. We need to create your own investor agent lead gen. Now this is different, right? Investor focused content, right? Property tours, but different, right? ROI breakdowns, right? Return on investment for cash flows, cash flow examples, deals of the week. These are the things for which you will share, which is a lot different than just seasonal tips for winter, right? We need you to join investor groups, right? Online and offline, free and paid, right? We want you to network with property managers. We want you to network with short-term rental operators, builders, right? Referral sources with non-investor related realtors. All of these things come to play. All right, so step number 3, you guys. I wrote it as drip, baby, and drip. And here's the key. Your investor database will need consistent value drips. Monthly emails, bi-weekly emails with market stats, but your take off-market deals that you found, creative financing options that maybe one of your mortgage guys provided, right? Maybe you find a seller with that vendor take-back that you throw out to the database. So you were not just a typical realtor. You are their information hub. So this CRM plus the value drips are what you're going to have to build into your investment-focused knowledge. Now with that comes step 4, which is nurture for you as an investor agent looks like what? That's what I wrote down. Looks like what, right? Is it, are you going to do monthly meetups? Is there going to be a hosting of investor nights, right? Is there going to be webinars because it's easier to just curate your audience because they're from all over your marketplaces, right? Do you have case studies that you can provide that continue to nurture them forward once you've got them in the CRM and you've decided what your drips are, right? We need you to share your own deals transparently. Why is that? Because no matter what, when you surface a new deal, you need to get that in front of the people that you've done, right? And you need to say that you're not just peddling for commissions, but you're also still in the journey. So this, is something different for every one of us who are investor-based agents. The more value you provide, the more trust you will build, and the more opportunities that might come and those hands start to raise because their friend and their friend at lunch go talk and they heard about your deal, and two of them come together and all of a sudden they say, Darren, I didn't think I was ready, but my friend Scott and I want to do this with you. Oh, very cool. Or you share your insights, you share your deals, and guess what? People come out of the woodworks to say, how do I get one of those? Or, hey, Darren, would you partner with us on the next one? We've got the capital, I just don't know how to do it. And this starts to happen more and more and more. And this also happens with your networks, but it also happens with your family as well, if you like to blend a little bit of work and family. And then step number 5 is the conversion, right? This is a really unique niche to create a lot of double ends. Because if you're finding these off markets and you're bringing deals together, a lot of investor agents double the paychecks, they double end. And I'm like, I want you to think this way versus maybe when you are doing normal stuff, you get a little icky around it. You're not sure how to handle, but with investor deals, you are bringing the value to both sides. And I want you to own this, right? This is where those joint venture opportunities can come, right? When somebody has the capital but no expertise, and that's what I just shared, right? We want to document the wins. We want to share them. We want success stories. We want overload because this attracts more people. And all of these two things work together when you have a nurture plan. Looks like what? With this conversion concept of can you get your stories and message to market? And the answer is yes. You just need to kind of tap into this. A few people though always will bring stuff up to be I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. And this is what happens most of the time is Darren's like, I've got an investment property. And they think they need to own dozens of these things before they're in a position to serve. And that's not the case, right? We said it's nice to have dozens. The more you have, the more credibility you gain, sure. But start with one. When you have one, share the journey. Credibility will grow as you do it and the authenticity about your scale, right? Oftentimes, many of our high net worth clients are way higher income earners, way higher net worth than us as realtors. This is the same if you're selling luxury houses, right? The reality is start with one. Share the journey. So we don't need dozens. We do mostly need to have one. All right? And we go from there. The second one is investors are too demanding. Well, I hate to paint it to you. All clients are fairly demanding. But the truth here is, yes, there is a lot of expectation, right? That though, if you solve it, understand it, is what makes them super sticky. When we can deliver once with everything we've spoken about in this video, you will then create this client for life. They do not want to shop for other realtors. They do not want to decide if so-and-so can run the numbers like Darren could. That is such a harder swap to make as an investor agent and to go find another one than it is to just pick another agent to sell my house. Okay? So that is also not the truth. This niche is too small. A lot of people get nervous to kind of maybe corral themselves into this world and let go of the extra stuff. And I've seen agents do this a lot of time, and they push off and they dabble here and they dabble there and they never really plant. It is smaller, yes, but each investor equals multiple deals over multiple decades. We don't need thousands of clients. We need a good 50 to 100 over time, right? You need those dozens of good ones will drive your business for life, and then the referrals that come from around it. So it is smaller, but it's certainly not too small. All right. Some real world analogies or parallels I always want to give us to be like, hey, does this work for me? Right? Again, we talked about advisors already, right? They don't just sell us one stock. You could go do that on your RBC trading account and just buy your stock. These guys are managing your portfolio. They are managing the long-term outlook. That's what you are if you're an investor agent, right? I wrote down, what's this? Like stock advisor. It's probably a better word. The other one I thought about was Airbnb superhosts. There's a difference between somebody who owns an Airbnb and did it once, or Airbnb is their property once in a while, versus the Airbnb superhosts. All you got to do is either experience this, or when you're online, you see the difference in their marketing. They don't treat hosting as casual. It's not just, I got one of my 10 clients as an investor, right? They are super detail oriented. The experience matters. They are demanding. But when they win, like the people that have gone to these Airbnbs, they evangelize how good it was, right? I can think of people that do this and what they create, and this is why they get more and higher rents than others. Again, that's something that we can consider as well. And I always bring up this darn Apple ecosystem, which I'm just so entrenched in, right? One product done well, like my phone right here, or my iPad over here, or my Mac right here, right? Every one of these leads to more because I'm in the ecosystem. And investors, where they have that one deal, that one experience with this one lane of business, and then I come to you and I got another lane of business. And once they've trusted me, they will open up their wallets again and their trust to do many more with us. So that is the beauty of the investor agent. So here's the vision. The vision is this. Imagine being the trusted advisor for a dozen of serious investors. Just think about that for a second, right? You're not chasing cold leads anymore. You're not running after one-off deals. You're managing their portfolio. You're helping people build massive wealth and building your own along the way. That's the vision, right? So here, if this is considering something like this might be the avatar that you're going to fully embrace, I want you to audit your investor credibility. Do you own a property? Can you start? And if you start, would you showcase the journey, document the journey? And moving to this avatar might mean not this moment, but why don't we show that transition towards it, right? 2, identify 3 people in your world with capital, but no expertise. Can you bring them an opportunity? Will you have the balls to do that? 3 people in your world with capital, but no expertise. And number 3, connect with one investor group. Whether it's paid, online, in person or not, show up. Go to meetup.com, wherever you are, there's going to be stuff, right? It could be property managers, right? Builder groups, investor groups. Find one, connect one, go into that space and see how you feel. Because I need you to think this way, because as we spoke, the investor agent doesn't dabble. They commit, they go all in. So if you want, again, to further unpack this, I always create a worksheet off of every one of these. Go into Rome, which is at reeducation.school. Sign up, it's free. All the resources I've created for every podcast since episode 84 has just a ton of stuff that you can dive into, re-listen to, catch a summary. I'd love for you to explore this free resource. There's nothing like it. There's no other real estate podcast that does it this way. So I really hope that you can just utilize it because it's there for you. It's kind of my podcast-powered, free coaching journey that you can have and further absorb this information. Because my goal here is to build you up to be a real estate agent by design, not by default. So if you've enjoyed this, save it, favorite, drop a review, share it to folks that matter, and I'll see you again next time. We're going to dive into the 5th and the final series. I'm going to bring on a bunch of guests for this one, actually. So stay tuned for these next 3 because I wanted their help to better explain this 5th one because I personally don't have the experience to walk you through it with the same integrity that I did these other 4. I have been all 4 of these agents throughout my 20-year career. I'm attempting this 5th one and haven't figured it out, but others have. So I look forward to sharing this with you. Have a great day, night, whatever you're hearing this, and we'll talk to you again soon.